We are here today this afternoon. I am Camille Allen Griffith, the Outreach Coordinator for Film Co, organizers of the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. And of course, we're going to have a one-on-one chat with creative and film industry folks about the art, business, the joys, the challenges of working in film and television. I also have to just do a little bit of housekeeping. Our chat is sponsored by Republic Bank. And today, let me get him on. We are speaking with Trevon Jugmohan. Okay, so let me send a request for him to join the live.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. I feel like my phone needs to be further away from my face.
Feeling too close to the screen?
I'm trying to angle. I'm looking good.
Yes, I'm looking fabulous.
This is my second COVID bed.
How has COVID been treating you?
Horribly. But the lessons that I have learned, I think it'll carry me through for the rest of my life. Because if you could do with such little right now, what will happen when you get a little bit more?
That is true. I like that takeaway from it. So we could jump right into the questions. So as you talk about COVID, how would you describe yourself? A disciplined doer or procrastinator, especially during this period?
Well, I think I am naturally a doer, but with a huge procrastination problem. So sometimes I need to get a fire lit under me, and so when I consistently worked with Raymond Choo Kong, that is, that it was like 13 years, so you had somebody cracking that whip for you.
Right,
and
right.
then when I started to produce the big musicals with John Smith, with JCS Entertainment, Sound of Music, King and I, Mahalia, that one was, you're getting paid for a very large project. You better get up and do your work. So COVID has been very difficult because I don't know if you remember when like the New York Times and Variety and these people were putting out articles in the beginning of COVID specifically directed to the creatives, and saying things like, don't force being creative. It's a difficult time.
Yeah.
But then it had other articles that basically amended that, which was fill your time being creative. So I could show you an example of one of them, which is me, that I picked up a coloring book.
Oh, you got a coloring book?
I just picked up a coloring book and I started to paint. You know,
fancy paint, not even crayons or even color pencils, but painting. Okay.
Well, but I still do paint. I still paint. You know, so it is how to find that balance in getting the creative juices flowing.
You said flowing. I heard flowing.
I said flowing. So it's just because you can't do one thing doesn't mean it should stop you from doing anything else. I am not a painter. And, I made sure in that little bio I sent to you that I stuck in in the first line, and as of 2020, writer.
All right, yes. Don't worry, we're coming to those questions. It's coming. So don't jump the gun. Don't jump the gun. So, okay.
Well, I'm here for as long as you'll have me. So you can jump and jump back, and it's fine.
Okay. So then, as you're talking about painting, did you do anything filmmaking wise? Like what have you been working on besides painting? And apparently that seems to be like a new hobby.
Well, the only reason that came up because I can't do my pottery because you're not making the money to go down to the studio to do the pottery. So then it's like, okay, so I'm by no means a painter. You know,
Right.
so it is a, how to put this, a focused hobby.
So you didn't do anything filmmaking wise? Nothing
Film
film wise?
Filmmaking wise, okay. So December 2020, we aired The Lion in Winter,
Mm-hmm.
which is a play written in 1969, 1970 by James Goldman, an
Mm-hmm.
American playwright.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually it was such a huge hit on Broadway, it became a film
Right.
that,
And then a TV series.
the one?
And then a TV series. I did my homework. It was also a TV
No,
series as
it,
well.
no, it was a made-for-TV film,
Right.
which was not as good as the original. The original was Peter O'Toole, Katharine Hepburn,
Right.
Anthony Hopkins, Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton was like the James Bond, I
Yeah.
think after Roger Moore. You know,
Yes.
so that was, and the original play, or when it was originally staged, was the breakout role for Christopher Walken.
Right.
So I had always loved this play. Myself and Raymond, we had put like a loose cast it, and I was like, you know, this is like the best time I could do something experimental because they get a little sponsorship. It
Right.
is, you know, we could do something different. So we did a dramatic reading, staged it at Queen's Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Romano Francois taped it and edited it with me. So
Right.
it was very weird because it was a dramatic reading of a play. It it was filmed and edited like a movie, but then it had ads we put inside there like a TV show. You know, so it
Right.
was a kind of a weird Frankenstein kind of production. And as you know, you very well said when you said before, Republic Bank sponsored as well.
Oh,
And
nice.
NGC helped us out, and Clark and Batu,
You'll
and
have a
Angus
nice.
Tura. You know,
Mm-hmm.
people, not a huge amount, but enough to get the job done.
Right. So does that mean that you're going to turn it into like a film, as in, you know, in a traditional film sense, or are you going to leave it the way how you did a dramatic reading and release it as a film?
Well, here's how that went. So I approached the International Theater Licensing Agency called Concord Theatricals.
Mm-hmm.
They did not have the rights for a broadcast version. So
Oh,
the widow of the writer, they had to ask her to approve it because the broadcast rights
mm-hmm.
belong to, I believe, MGM or
Oh,
whichever production house, distribution house owns it because of those movies, because they bought it
yeah.
for
All the
the
way
Peter
back in
O'Toole version, the
1969 or
Patrick
70.
Stewart and Glenn Close
Mm-hmm.
version, you know, so they own that. So she had to actually give me permission to
Oh,
do it. So, and it only ran for 10 days. Um, but the plan was, and it didn't happen, we didn't raise enough money, but the plan was to then do the actual play, tape
mm-hmm.
it, and then put it back out. So it was a hit, and
Uh-huh.
yet somehow it was a miss.
But does that mean that you're still thinking about making it into a play to film it, or is that
I
completely
This is my favorite play of all time, so I will continue to hope that I could
a
do it.
push?
But this is where a lot of what I've been writing
Mm-hmm.
kind of comes in because I'm trying to write pieces that are a good mix of comedy with substance.
Right. So just kind of like stepping back a little bit so that people will just get a little bit more of an idea of your broad skill set. So you did mention Raymond Choo Kong. Of course, you know, that's a stalwart in Trinidad and Tobago, in theater. Tell us about how that influenced your career, how you became an actor, then you get into film, producing, and of course now, as you said, writer. How did that transition happen and how did you end up with Raymond?
How much time you have?
Try and condense it. Short story.
Okay, let me tell you the Trinidadian way of telling this particular story. Okay,
Uh-huh.
2006, I joined the necessary arts school, and it was Penny Spencer, Naima Thompson, and Lydia Ledgerwood, and that's my introduction to theater. My aunt saw an ad in the newspaper, and we were talking about that I wanted to be so many different things growing up. She was like, "Why not be an actor and be everything?"
All right.
And I was like, "That was not a bad idea." And I was, and still am very shy, painfully shy. So it was a great lesson in my voice coming
Right.
out. So we're at Necessary Arts. There I met Raymond and Conrad Paris and a whole bunch of others.
And
You
Conrad
know,
is actually on this live. You might want to wave to him. But continue with the story. Continue.
please, Conrad is family. I don't need to wave to family. So through there, I did stagehand work, production work with Raymond.
Right.
And in the time of me doing theater, I'm getting fired from jobs because I am coming to work tired. I really could give one ass about the work that I have to do 8 to 4.
Yeah, because you found your passion.
Well, write down that word passion somewhere and we'll get right back to that. I have a specific story for that one. That's a very special word, and we'll get back to that.
Okay.
Stick a pin and put it in. If I had a notebook, a whiteboard, I would have write it down. So and eventually Raymond said, "Hey, if you want to live by the theater, you need to start to produce."
Right.
So in producing, this is where I learned the majority of disciplines that it takes, not just for theater, but quality entertainment.
Right.
So then, while producing, you understand, maybe not as much as the director, but the producer hires the director, and then everybody else comes under that.
Right.
You know, the producer is the business end of it. And of course, the producer is the one who falls in love with the script first.
Right.
So that's why the producer and the director always try to kill each other. Because it's my way versus your way, my view versus your view, that kind of thing. And it always comes from a good place. But
yeah.
I don't have my next hand free to protest.
to show.
Protest. And so when you pick up the script as a producer or director, you have to understand it from cover to cover. And I mean cover to cover. Because in a given script there's the actors.
Yeah.
The actors' work. There is the set design.
Yes.
Set design has function, has colors, has the set is one of the characters.
Yes.
Just as the audience is one of the characters, as especially for a comedy. You know, it is people don't realize, even the actors themselves don't realize that the actors aren't the only characters. There are many other characters that you have to cater for. Your costume completes your character. You need to understand that. If you have a quick change, I don't want to have a single conversation with an actor if they've never done a quick change in their life. Because a quick change is an art form by itself.
It is.
You know, so it is. So is that lights, sound. I went to a brilliant play on Broadway called Hillary and Clinton, and it was starring Laurie Metcalf and John Lithgow. Laurie was playing Hillary Clinton when she went up against Obama, and she lost that first presidential nomination. And it's just 4 actors in the whole play. Laurie playing Hillary, John Lithgow playing Bill. They're not doing accents. They're just doing the essence of the person.
Right.
And a guy who played Hillary's campaign manager, and then an actor who played Obama, and who did a perfect Obama impersonation.
Right.
And I said that to introduce the sound. And I was having a conversation with another friend, and she was telling me her sound designer would love to do this. That when the actor moved to one stage, the surround sound kicked in. So the sound went more to one side than to the other. Because sometimes people just pipe the song straight into the audience, and it just is a PA system.
Right.
But the technicals of that little, what you call a four-hander, a four-person play, the little technicals in that, it just embellished the performance of the actors.
So then, as you're speaking so in depth about theater production, how did you make that jump from theater production to film?
You see, everybody says things like jump and things like that and stuff. And I'm not, it's not offensive. I just think it's the wrong dialogue we're using. It's that dialogue separates theater and film in this country more and more every time we say something. And I'm not blaming you or anybody. It's the jargon we use. We are more similar than we are different.
You are correct.
That could go for human beings, or that could go for the art form of theater and film.
Right.
And it is, so I'm going to make a plug. I have an acting class coming up starting Saturday. For anybody who wants to join, it's at the Trinidad Theater Workshop. And that's one of the lessons I'm going to teach the class, is that you have to be flexible enough for when you know you're on stage and then you know you're in front of a camera.
Right.
You need to be able to do both.
So then explain that difference then, because some people don't really understand the nuance of that. Because it is very different performing for a live audience than when you're performing for the camera and you don't have that feedback from an audience that kind of feeds the performance forward.
No, but you have the feedback from the crew. You know, even though the crew doesn't bust out laughing, you can feel something from people.
Right.
So again, you have to look for the similarities instead of pulling the differences.
The differences. And
I'm talking about the bigger the production gets, the more people are on set. So a lot of times, if you look at, there's a Judd Apatow interview. He was the director of Bridesmaids. And they had to take several takes because the crew is busting out laughing. You know, it's almost like the first take is for the crew, the second take is for the audience. So
let me bring it back to Mightier and the Sun. What prompted you to do Mightier and the Sun?
Wait, I didn't finish with my theater story.
Oh, my bad.
Wait, I didn't tell my story.
I thought you were finished with your story. Wait,
I'm not finished with my story.
Oh, Lord.
Actually, I might be, you know, I might be, but I'm the king of tangent. So let's go with
let's bring it to Mightier and Son, because I know Mightier and Son started off as a play and then you made it into a film. So how did that come about? Why did you take it from the stage into film?
Right. That is a misnomer. The Mightier and the Son was written as a film by Anthony Blackburn. And he wrote three plays. Not three plays. He wrote three screenplays.
Right.
Mightier and the Son, Eggs Benedict, which was entered in the ttff the year before.
Right.
And I can't remember the name of the third piece. And it was all three two-handers, so just two actors. And I suspect it was a matter of he wanted to do all three as shorts and then put it together to create one feature.
Right.
And so the first time it was done as a play, because Anthony became good friends with Peony, Arnold Gwyndan, who was the lead in Mightier and the Son. Well, the male lead and the female lead is Carla Nee Hall. And the first time, okay, Mightier was written 10 years ago. And Peony read for the character at the playwrights, playwrights workshop with Tony Hall.
Right.
And ever since then, Peony and Anthony have been trying to get somebody to produce this. Peony then put it into the hands of Marvin Dowridge, who is currently one of the players in the National Drama Company at NAPA.
At NAPA.
Because Marvin was doing one of his directing courses under Efibo Wilkinson at UE.
Right.
So Peony was in that, and Sintaiki Bishop played the female. And Sintaiki is also a part of the National Acting Company, NTAC.
Right.
She's a working actor. And so that was the first time I went to see it. Peony invited myself, Raymond, and Chris Smith, who also passed. And the three of us are there. I can't remember if anybody else was there. Maybe Chris's wife might have been there with us. But Raymond didn't see the play because his grandson was his granddaughter. His great-granddaughter was born that night. So he left as he sat down. He got a phone call and had to run up to Sandy Grande Hospital.
Wow. So that is why you remember that this was specifically when you saw that. So what was the actual moment that you're like, I want to turn this into a film?
Peony brought it to me and wanted me to produce it.
And
for obvious reasons, if I produce it, that means you get Raymond to direct it. And I was like, yeah, sure. Then the industry started to frustrate the hell out of me. And finances, people, lack of respect, me and Raymond were falling out completely. And then I just decided, I am going by my parents. I'm going to try to migrate. So I picked up myself in 2018. I made the decision in 2017. 2018, I'm leaving the country. So I spent 6 months in 2018 in the States. And I'm realizing this is going nowhere.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm still talking to Peony. And I was like, you know what? I'm coming back home. I'm coming back home to produce and direct this film.
And here we have it, an award-winning film, because it wasn't not award-winning. It was in competition for TTFF 2020. And how important
I think it was award-winning.
Huh?
I think it was very award-winning.
Well, no, but I just say in terms of TTFF 2020, you guys were in competition. How important is that recognition?
It is very important, and it's not a personal importance. It is an industry importance. Because the same thing for the non-existent Kasika Awards right now, for the theater. It is a validating of the artist's work in the public eyes. And I was very disappointed that I didn't win, or at least come second in the TTFF. And I have my own personal views on that. And I wouldn't go into that here now, because then you all might never want to speak to me again. And I don't like to blame bridges. And a good bad talk all don't worry. And not you personally. That
you understand. Yes, Brian, TTFF, I understand.
And I had a lot of people throw a bunch of other people under the bus. That you and I could talk personally. That's a hilarious story. And I had a good laugh in some of those conversations. And it's very important, because it's almost like a critic reviewing your piece, whether it's a play, whether it's your dance, whether it's a musical performance, anything. Because the general public needs to know of this product. So you have a lot of critics, judges, and a whole bunch of people who put them out in places where they don't understand
Right.
the work in front of them.
Right.
And the work is an individual thing. We talk to any artist, and they talk about their work like as a child. You know,
Well, this is your baby.
Well, this is the
It's your
closest a man
baby.
could come to having a child, as far as I'm
from
concerned.
beginning to end.
I can't put on children, but I could put on a film, and I'll tell you, it's painful labor.
Figuratively, it's your baby.
And it also, but it just like how mothers, they have the psychological effect that as soon as the child is born, the mother forgets, and she could have a child again. You know,
The mother does not forget. Let's not put that propaganda out there. The mother does not forget.
No, well, no, in the sense of the pain. In the sense of the pain, there's something you could go beyond the pain.
Okay. All right. So this I just had to make sure that you understand what it is you're saying so that people don't take away from here the perception that you're saying women must forget their children. Don't say that. You have to be politically correct.
What? I think you just interpreted me wrong. I never said women forget the children. And no, because trust me, I was a painful child to raise.
Oh my goodness.
But so my mother could never forget me. And but the flip side of that is exactly what you're saying here is, and I'm not saying again you personally, because we are in a very PC climate that everybody has to be careful about what you say. I'm saying it, if somebody interprets that wrong, I don't know how much I have I need to respond to that. Because I said what I said. If you understand what I say, you will not necessarily agree with me, but you'll understand why I said it.
Right.
If you want to look for offense, then fine, look for the offense.
True. So then what's next for you in the film arena?
In the film arena, I'm working on a project to help the Trinidad Theatre Workshop, which is a piece I wrote, and it features in a separate part, not the exact performance, but Albert Laveau and Eunice Allen, who people will not only know from theater because they've done their fair share of films themselves. I mean, you would have seen Eunice Allen in Fire Queen, and you would have seen Eunice Allen at the end in Bazadi, which she had the best performance in Bazadi when she was Marshall's grandmother, walking across the construction yard. She didn't say a word. Just looked that boy in the face and he knew exactly what she meant. And Albert, well, between commercials, I can't remember the Panadol commercial I see Albert in, and other stuff. I think he was in Fire Queen too.
Oh wow. So basically that's what it is you have coming up next. So this is like my final question because we're definitely are getting to that closing time. So we're going to close up with, what 5 films would you say every filmmaker should watch?
What 5 films every filmmaker should watch? I can't say specifically films. What I would speak in terms of is directors.
Okay.
You know, so if you want to, I'm going to kind of give it's almost like when you combine it, you'll get like a master class. So it's not one genre specifically. And I'm not versed in foreign film and that kind of bracket. I know Western films, whether it's from mostly England, Canada, America, and the Indian musicals. I know them to some extent. So Quentin Tarantino, it's a must because as far as a director goes, he breaks the rules and then he makes the critics know that this is quality work. Because what Tarantino does, very few other people do. Right? So then, because he's on the less beaten path, somebody could jump up and say it's not as good as. But in the last few years, his prominence, not just as a writer, but it's he is a masterclass to watch by himself. So it's
I see
him,
what you're saying.
Scorsese,
Yes.
but Scorsese has, you more so see mostly like, I don't want to speak out of turn, but the way how I see it, he mostly has one style and he does it very, very, very well.
Which is fine.
Yes.
Once you see a Scorsese film, you know, even if you don't know that he's affiliated with it, you know that it's his film. And then when you see at the end, you're like, aha, I was right.
You know that.
Mhm.
I know he's a controversial figure, but
Yeah.
as I try to separate the man from the artist.
Right.
So I don't, your personal life, you will have to pay for whatever that is. But as far as your art, it influenced me. I appreciate it, and I'll take it from there. Is
Mhm.
Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's
Um,
definitely a very controversial one, especially since they had that how many parts, I can't remember how many parts it is, documentary on HBO recently with him against his wife and, well, his ex-wife, obviously. But his work, his films are definitely something to study.
so it is, because at the end of the day, I mean, we could go, right, so that's 3 films. A quick
Yeah, that's
tangent.
too much to get done.
At the end of the day, you could find a scientist
Mhm.
who some contribution to this life, this cell phone I'm holding up here with a unseen signal that's bouncing around my room that is allowing us to do this. Somebody in some side there might have been a horrible, disgusting human being, and we don't know it,
True.
and we still use it. So I'm not, by no means it's me condoning their actions, but this is a complicated planet we live on,
Very.
and to me, I try to take that complication and get it down to its simplest meaning. So so those are 3. Nora Ephron tells a good light story.
Mhm.
I like Nora Ephron stuff, and I like Michael Bay because he
That's a good
does.
choice. He's like big
No, because
blockbusters.
no, it's not about the block. It's not just about the blockbuster. It's that there is dinner and then there's dessert. The
Okay.
dinner is what keeps you alive and sustains you. The
Mhm.
dessert is just the extra. And
Right.
sometimes that extra, and the reason why they are blockbusters and then they are niche work is
Mhm.
because most of the world does not want to have to work so hard to get entertainment.
Okay.
Most of
I
the
can
world,
accept that argument. I can accept that
yeah,
argument.
most of the world wants it on a silver platter, big, blowing up, colorful,
Yeah, and apart from
African.
that too, an escape. Sometimes you go to sit down and look at a movie, eat popcorn, and drink a huge soft drink, and just escape for a little bit from whatever it is going on. So, which makes sense because at the end of the day, it is the entertainment business. So I would never knock the position of having blockbusters. I mean, I can tell you personally, the MCU and I have gotten a really good relationship. A really good relationship where we have rousing conversations amongst my friends about what's going on in the MCU. And right now I'm looking at DC side eye because Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League is about to come out. So I need to see how much better it would be from the one that they had before. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So,
And just to tack on to that thing about the audience doesn't want to work that hard.
mhm.
This is what made Raymond a household name. It's because he dealt in comedy
Mhm.
and he was great at it.
He
And
was.
every actor got better from standing up on that stage doing comedy, because I've had to stand side by side with Raymond to defend how hard comedy is while
It is.
people are watching it, because he's financially successful. And the financial success comes with the same types of people. Not everybody, but who wants to take in the Michael Bay movie.
Right.
Because you want to come, you had a hard day. You want to come and laugh and jump out your seat. And what Raymond did was he played up the shock of recognition that you can see yourself or somebody you know in one of the pieces. So it's just like how Michael Bay always has these characters that they take the same journey.
Yes, they do.
Take a journey from this is where they started and this is where they end.
Yeah.
You know, it not only worked like that for in the character, but in real life. Shia LaBeouf went from here to here, and then he went into performance art and he went there.
Somewhere.
Me and my ex-girlfriend, we always argue about performance art, and I need an education in performance art because I don't get it. I understand it, but I don't get it. You know, so.
All right. But I just want to thank you so much for Limin Live with me, giving some real good insight into how similar theater production and film is. And we do separate all of the different art forms and say that they're so different when there's so much more similarities than differences. So I think that was a really good kind of conversation to have for people to know, because everybody keeps, we love labels in this world, and if you're a film, you're a film. If you're a theater production, you're a theater production. If you're a dance production, you're a dance production. But there's so much intermingling in between, and then you get to be more creative when you do have that overlapping to show the beauty visually of how these mediums can intermix with each other. So I thank you so much for this conversation, this chat, this short chat.
As you said that. One more thing to add on. As you said exactly what you said there, you know how much more powerful the industry will be if you take the film, the theater, the dance, the musicians, you put us all together. The government, sponsors will have to listen to us because we will be a proper voice.
Right.
But until some grand disaster happens,
oh my goodness.
because that's what has to move the world at this point.
Yeah.
You understand? A black man has to be murdered in the States for an entire movement, and he wasn't the only one. It was just how it was taped.
Yeah.
You understand? I don't want to lose another Raymond, another Tony Hall, another Chris, and anybody else in the film industry who I'm not calling, because I basically just call theater people to some extent there. I don't want to keep losing people, and we're not making a dent.
Yeah. And you're not keeping it around for prosperity as well, because we also have to think past our lifetime. There are generations to come, and we have to understand that as artists, whether you're in theater production, film, dance, music, art, fashion, the whole gamut, it's a snapshot for a moment in time, a period in time that you can go back and look at. And it's like, yeah, that particular point in time, this is what happened. Like, I have conversations with my coworkers, and we basically speak about how this whole pandemic, we're in living history. A few years from now, we're going to be like, you remember when the pandemic happened, all blah, 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 blah. So it's just that we, as you rightly are saying, in particular here in Trinidad and Tobago, is think about what's the overall picture that we want to recognize, to record, to have for prosperity going forward, so that the generations to come don't make the same mistakes. You know what I'm saying? That they see, okay, this is the mistake that was made. I don't want to walk down that same path. Let me take a different direction. And then taking that different direction, you never know, something even more beautiful would come out of not making the same mistake over and over and over. But Trevon, you get me on my soapbox. I'm not going on my soapbox. I am trying to end the chat.
This is the soapbox.
I am trying to end the chat.
No, this conversation is supposed to go on for hours and hours. Because people need to ask themselves what side of history you want to end up on when it's written.
You and I, we're here. We're here. I feel you on that.
Yeah. We here, but I lose in the last film festival, you know, so I'm not feeling it for here with the film festival, I'll tell you that much. But
Thank you so
very
much,
much
Trevon.
for having me.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I have to plug the sponsor, Republic Bank, for sponsoring this initiative. I also have to plug the fact that FilmCo is also hosting live producing. Remember, you talked a lot about producing. So we have Leslie Ann McFarlane, who is one of the founders of FilmCo. She is doing a live producing workshop, which is next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So if you check our Insta stories, the information is there. Trevon, thank you so much. Next week, we have Amanda Sands paddling at 5 p.m. AST right here on Instagram Live. See you guys next week. Thank you, Trevon. Bye.
Thank you. Send me the IG video so I can post it on my page.
Sure, no
Bye.
problem. Bye.